Joining me now is Liberal MP Garth Hamilton and PR Council Managing Director Christy McSweeney. Team, it's good to see you both. I was talking earlier about the proposition of net zero, of course, being dropped by the Coalition. There's plenty of push from within the Nationals for this to happen. Garth, we spoke last week after you wrote in The Australian saying that you need to drop net zero because it's blank cheque politics. Now that the Coalition is back together and you are both going to go off and have your respective discussions about policy and then come back together and try and form some sort of cohesive message, what do you think the chances are of the Liberal Party agreeing to drop net zero?
Honestly, I just think it's a matter of time. This is something that's happening around the world. I remember very clearly when we signed up to it and we were told that we had to sign up to it because everywhere else in the world was signed up. It was something that we had to do. Well, that proved wrong. You know, one thing about net zero, one thing that's really important, no one knows the cost of it financially. I'll tell you the political costs, because we often don't talk about this. Since that day we signed up, we've lost 34 seats in the Coalition. We've lost 34 seats since that day we signed up, 2/3 of which have been in the city. So I think we can completely throw away this argument that this is, we need to keep net zero to keep city seats. Absolute nonsense. The proof is the opposite. Net zero has cost us city seats. That's a fact. The reason it's cost us that is because we're conflicted. No one believes us on it. I think we just need to sort ourselves out, get over this and move on.
And I know, Christy, of course, I mentioned Zoe McKenzie earlier, who was saying, my voters care about net zero. And so I can understand from a personal perspective why she might be worried. But having net zero as a policy platform for the Liberal Party didn't save them in the Teal seat. So hanging on to it isn't in and of itself going to help them win those seats back. So what is there possibly to gain in hanging on to net zero?
Well, first of all, Zoe's right. And there's 88 other seats in metropolitan Australia to consider. But what we do know is that climate change and issues around net zero and how much Australians care about that has dropped down the order. It's about sitting at number 8 or 9 in terms of measuring against what issues people care about when they're all polled prior to the election. So we've had a number of elections where it was the number one issue or been perceived to be the number one issue, and it's been replaced by cost of living, by crime and by healthcare. And so whatever the policy the coalition parties come to, it has to be a policy that in part recognises that if you want to prosecute a counter-argument, that counter-argument has been lost for about 15 years. So if you want to prosecute that argument, there's a lot of work that's got to be done with messaging to explain it, to tell Australians the economic cost of it, the job security cost, to tell Australians how we globally benchmark Australia with the United States pulling out, with other countries re-looking at this. But that work has to be done rather than making a blanket decision and the coalition risking those 88 metropolitan seats again being perceived as a party that doesn't believe in climate change. And that's a risk. It's a nuance, but that work has to be done if that argument is to be made.
It's a fair point, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier, that you need to find a middle ground where you acknowledge that we want to decarbonise in some way, but we have to do it in a way that doesn't economically disadvantage Australian people.